So once you've taught interoception, and if a child now knows how to recognize these signs of anxiety, we also need to teach relaxation. What do we do when we're feeling anxious or out of sorts? Well, we need to learn how to relax. And this is a great little book for kids that does that, called When My Worries Get Too Big. And it's squeezing the hands together and 3 deep breaths, and then sitting down and rubbing legs and closing the eyes. And if you Google When My Worries Get Too Big, or on YouTube in the search box, I believe there's still a video up there of how to do this process. And when you think about teaching relaxation, and I think it should be a part of every IEP plan, it's something that can really follow a person through their whole lives. So here's Mark at age 24. He is actually doing a meditation process for himself through an old CD that was given to him by one of his therapists when he was 4 years old. She was a she also taught yoga practitioner, and she taught Mark the Ujjayi breath when he was only 4. And she gave him this disc, and he still constantly goes back to this disc and does this breathing as a form of relaxation. So this has seen him through his lifetime. Now let's talk about interest, because supporting interest, expanding interest, giving time for interest is always going to lead to happiness. Don't worry if the interests are not age appropriate or they're unconventional, okay? And I've done some writing about interest too. So if you just even put interest in the search box, you'll see some different articles up there on interest. So interests are motivating, and motivation is a key tool for wanting to acquire new information and attending to a task. Most of us are going to devote more time and energy to something that interests us than a task we are told to do, and we're more apt to pursue or stay with something that interests us. Interests are engaging. You're going to have a higher level of participation from the person if they're interested in the activity, and they'll always stick with it for a longer period of time as well. Conversation starters. Who doesn't like to talk about their interest? So talking about someone's interest can also encourage them to want to speak more. They're great friendship builders because they draw like-minded people together. And, I started figure skating as an adult at the age of 40, and I've now got this huge group of friends that I've met through this special interest of figure skating that I do, and it's really changed my life for the better. Interest can be skill building. They can be a platform for learning new skills. So I gave you the example of what happened with using Molly and Morris and how this evolved into puppeteering. And this has been just a great outlet for Julia to improve her speaking voice and her singing voice. Interests are employable. They can lead to a job. So when Mark was in high school, he did a 2-year work experience at one of our public libraries. And I thought it would be a great environment for him because he loves looking at books and he also loves numbers. And he was fascinated by the Dewey Decimal System. And by being in that work experience, a huge reader was born. Like Mark reads at least one adult nonfiction book a week. So this all started with this work experience at the library. They can also be meaningful. So when we think of like in the education system, let's say within the language arts curriculum, we have to teach, say, how to make a report. Well, if that child is interested in dinosaurs, why can't they do the report on dinosaurs? Or in Mark's case, Royal Yacht Britannia he loves. Why can't he do his report on the Royal Yacht Britannia? So you're still building that skill of writing a report, but you're using the interest to keep the student engaged. Their interest can be calming. So nothing feels better than engaging in something that's familiar and loved. And when we did our first family holiday in 2017 out of the country on an airplane, Mark actually we were on WestJet. He actually had the WestJet model plane with him, and he held it the entire time while he looked out of the window. And I think that was a calming thing for him because he was able then to conceptualize himself, put himself in context that he was flying, he was inside this big metal thing. Okay. Enhancing. So my son loves chamber music. Now he's doing his yoga practice to chamber music. And it also, using the music, helped Mark to be able then to jump into this new workout that we started doing with my figure skating coach online. He was very nervous, but he felt calmer being able to use his favorite music to do the workout to. And interests are expandable, and we can keep expanding on interests throughout a person's lifetime to keep things, interesting and moving forward. So when I talk about Mark and the planes, one of the other things I've done is Mark is now doing these hikes out by the airport where he can see the planes coming and going. Of course, they're greatly reduced now during COVID, their flights, but if I said to Mark, "Do you want to go on a hike?" he'd say no. But if I say, "Do you want to go and see the airplanes?" Yes, then he's interested because it's incorporating that special interest. So here's just an example of an interest web. In the center circle there, you would put the interest. For example, if I did Mark's, I would do music, and then I could put what kinds of things are related to music, right? So meditation he can do to music. He can read about composers. He can listen to books on tape with music. And so I find sometimes just doing this visual for myself can help me figure out how all of these lines intersect, right? And how everything weaves together. Because I always think of the world as like a giant spider web, and all of these lines and points are intersecting. And we have to figure out, where do these points intersect and how can we expand and grow that web?